The movie opens in the arid, sun-cracked Badlands, and right away you know this place is not messing around. A lone pickup kicks up dust along a narrow road, and we meet Maya Redfeather, a quiet but fierce native tracker who knows this land like the back of her hand. She's following a trail that leads to a charred campsite, and the first hint that something is very wrong. Huge clawed bruises on a tree, and scorch marks, like someone, or something, has technology we don't. It's a small, intimate opening that sets mood more than exposition, and I liked that. The film trusts you to feel the threat before it explains it. Soon enough, the sheriff's office gets involved. Sheriff Tom Ellis rolls in with his deputy and a beat-up radio, a good man with a steady jaw, and he brings along Ethan Cross, an ex-Special Forces tracker turned contractor. Ethan is the kind of lead who's been in worse spots than this, but that doesn't mean he's not rattled, because this isn't just a bear or a mountain lion. The first real body they find is grisly, and the camera doesn't spare you. Trophies taken, bones cleaned in a way no human predator would do. The atmosphere tightens. You can sense the town's old stories bubbling up, old tales the elders used to tell about hunters in the sky and spirits that took trophies. Maya listens, stoic, but you can tell she's made of steel and memory. She's got her own reasons to hunt what's hunting them. A local oil company's rig nearby gives the plot a modern twist. Corporate rep Grant Mercer arrives, all slick suit and too bright smile, saying the right words while watching the land as if it's a ledger. His presence adds friction. He wants to keep production moving, keeps asking about liability and headlines, while the sheriff and Ethan argue for shutting everything down. The film uses this as a neat contrast. People who see land as an asset versus people who see it as home. It matters, because when a predator of another kind shows up, those differences become life or death. We meet the rest of the small ensemble. Dr. Lena Ortiz, a biologist who's more curious than scared, and insists on documenting everything. Hank, a grizzled rig foreman, who thinks every problem can be solved with a hammer. And Maya's nephew, little Toma, who becomes a heartbreaking reminder of what's at stake. Characters are sketched quickly, but well. No wasted backstories, just enough to care. The film keeps the focus tight. This isn't a sprawling epic about the aliens' origins. It's a survival thriller about a group of flawed human folks trying to outsmart an impossible hunter. The predator reveals itself gradually. At first, it's small things, a flash in the air, an animal carcass whipped clean, a thermal signature on a night camera that looks nothing like a human. Then, in a nerve-jangling sequence at dusk, the predator stalks a worker who's fixing a pump. The way the predator moves is terrifying in its silent efficiency. It's part big cat, part sniper, and it has tech that feels both prehistoric and futuristic. The first direct encounter is brutal and shocking, and the movie doesn't flinch from the violence. If you're squeamish, fair warning, but for the film's intent, that rawness sells the stakes. After that, the group hunkers down and forms a plan. Observe, learn the predator's patterns, and try to outsmart it. Ethan and Maya form the heart of this resistance. Ethan is the muscle with tactical know-how, but Maya provides the real edge. Her tracking skills and local knowledge make the difference between wandering blind and setting traps. There's a sweet chemistry between them, not romantic so much as mutual respect. Two people who communicate with small gestures and terse jokes, the kind that tells you they'd risk their lives for one another without needing a Hallmark montage. The film does a good job showing the predator's intelligence. It studies, it learns from mistakes, and it adapts. There's a tense sequence where the team rigs the oil fields with motion sensors and flares, and for a beat, you think they've got it. Then, the predator flips the script, using thermal optics and camouflage tech to slip past the sensors and pick off a member of the team in a way that feels almost like a comment on hubris. Humans pride themselves on control and gadgets, and here's a being that makes our toys look primitive. Dr. Ortiz's fascination becomes a narrative device. While everyone else wants to shoot first, she wants to know why the creature hunts, what it respects, and whether there's any code to its behavior. That curiosity pays off later. There were moments of dark humor and small human touches that stopped the film from becoming relentless gore. Hank swears at a busted generator. Maya corrects a deputy's pronunciation with a dry grin. Sheriff Tom tells a terrible joke to keep morale up. Those bits build character and make losses land harder. The deaths aren't just cheap shocks. They matter because these people feel real. The film invests time in showing who they are, not just how they die. Midway through, Dr. Ortiz discovers that the predator seems to have a pattern. It's focused on skilled hunters, those who pose a threat or present a worthy trophy. It's not killing indiscriminately, there's a ritual to it. That realization forces Ethan to take bigger risks. He knows that to survive, he has to act like a hunter of hunters. The team crafts a daring plan to draw the predator into a confined gorge where its mobility and tech can be neutralized. They'll use sound, fire, and the Badlands' twisted geology, cliffs, narrow passes, and sudden drops, to even the playing field. The setup for the final act is tense and clever. They lure the predator using bait, poor, courageous souls who volunteer for the plan. Maya uses ancient signals and calls that echo off the rocks, and it feels like the film is honoring traditional knowledge without making Maya a trope. The sequence of the baited chase is choreography at its best. Close calls, near misses, and a series of smart, brutal exchanges that make you squirm and root at the same time. The predator loses limbs, comes back stronger, and the team loses people. Too many for comfort. The movie doesn't sugarcoat sacrifice, and it lets grief breathe. There's a scene where the survivors gather around a small fire and remove trophies taken from their fallen, an act that's both mournful and defiant. Ethan's showdown with the predator is the centerpiece. He's wounded, exhausted, and simultaneously furious and strangely respectful. The film gives the predator more personality than in some entries. It's not a mindless monster, it's an apex hunter, bound by a warped honor code. This makes their duel feel almost like a confrontation between two soldiers who understand each other's craft. Ethan adapts, using thermal blankets, improvised explosives, and a bone-deep understanding of the terrain to force the predator's tech to malfunction. The final blow is both physical and symbolic. They strip it of its mask and weapons, forcing it back to more primitive terms where human cunning can matter. There's a visceral impact when the creature finally falls, but the victory is bittersweet. The cost is high, and the landscape itself feels altered by the violence. In the aftermath, the film slows down in a humane way. Maya tends to Toma, who survived but now carries the trauma of watching adults die around him. The sheriff wraps up the immediate crisis but can't undo the loss. Grant Mercer tries to spin the narrative for PR, but the community pushes back. The land isn't a commodity to be marketed. Dr. Ortiz collects data, a little hopeful about scientific discovery, but she's quieter now. Results can't bring friends back. The movie closes with a lingering shot of the Badlands under an enormous sky, a place both beautiful and savage. It's an honest end. They won the fight, but the world outside is still messy, and the things that walk the stars aren't going away. Predator Badlands leans into what made the original films work: raw physicality, primal fear, and a hunter versus prey ballet while grounding it in a small human drama. The writing keeps the pace tight, and the emotional beats sincere. Visually, the Badlands are almost a character themselves. Cinematography treats the cliffs and canyons as stages for this dangerous dance, and practical effects mixed with tasteful GCI keep the predator tangible, which I appreciated. The sound design deserves a nod, too. Those kinetic, almost insect-like clicks and the predator's heavy breathing create a constant low-level dread. There are a few predictable beats. You can guess who's likely to go next once the stakes rise, but the film uses those expectations to good effect, subverting some and embracing others. The performances are solid across the board. Maya is the standout, a calm, steady presence who carries the film's moral center. Ethan is the classic action lead with enough wear and vulnerability to avoid being a cliché, and the film handles its indigenous elements respectfully, giving Maya cultural depth and agency rather than turning her into a plot prop, which felt important and overdue. If there's a criticism, it's that the film sometimes pulls back from deeper themes that peek through: colonial damage to land, corporate indifference, the legacy of hunting as ritual, and instead chooses to keep the focus squarely on the survival story. That's not bad, just a missed opportunity to layer commentary underneath the thrills. Still, as a lean, tense thriller about people doing their best against a better hunter, it hits its marks. By the time the credits roll, you're left with that satisfying sense of having watched something both brutal and honest. The Badlands are quieter now, but you get the feeling the story lingers. Maybe the predator was one of many, or maybe it was an aberration. Either way, the film closes with respect for the land and the people who live on it, not pretending they can stand unscathed against cosmic threats, but showing they'll fight and sometimes win. It's a neat addition to the franchise, not the biggest spectacle it could have been, but a grounded, respectful, and often chilling hunt that remembers to take breathers for character and heart. If you like your action with a little grit and some real human stakes, this one's worth the trip out to the Badlands.